October the 16th, 2024. Guys, you're looking at current images of the northern hemisphere on our side of the planet. It is 3:26 p.m. Central Time. And just a quick update. It's been probably the finest day we've had all year here in central Mississippi. It feels like an air conditioner outside. There's not a cloud in the sky. Many of you see it, and I can see from this map right now that a lot of you are feeling what I'm feeling, and it's wonderful to have this early in the year. I love it. Now, again, I think it may be a early message to prepare for early winter and a harder winter. So I mentioned it before, your firewood, and every year we talk about wood burning stoves and the little buddy heaters. You know, you can get it or Mr. Buddy heaters, whatever. Yeah, Mr. Buddy heaters you can get at Walmart or Home Depot, things that run on propane, and the little green canisters are the big ones. Things like that. That's what you need to be preparing for right now. Forget about the unnecessary items that you're thinking about, especially if you have a family. Think about exactly what you need and work towards that point. Now, here is the system steel guide. I think about a 40 or 50% chance of development. Right there you see it as the sun rises. And here's the one that I was watching before the National Hurricane Center was. It was right here. And we're seeing that it looks like it has some rotation in it. But this front, and again, look right here over the southeast. Look how clear it is, and like an air conditioner outside. Unbelievable. If it stayed like this every day of the year, I can put up with a 30 and 40 degree nights, no problem at all. We have to deal with the hand we have dealt. But just as we're talking about that, guys, and we're seeing things like the earth change positions, the magnetic poles flip and all, and then we know that the earth will be shaken, but if you understand the biblical history, the earth was shaken before. It was called the first earth age. And at that time, according to some people, that the seasons were stable. You didn't have the wobble in the earth. Everything was very pleasant. You didn't have the storms. It was kind of a paradise for God's creation. But after the Catabo, or the overthrow, and that's where, after the overthrow is where Genesis 1 begins, if you're not familiar with the Hebrew. But Genesis 1, it says, and the earth was void and without form. But in Hebrew, it said the earth became. If you look at that in your concordances, you'll see it says that the earth became void and without form. That's because the first earth age was destroyed, much the same way that Noah's age was destroyed. You understand what I'm saying? We're in a different time now. We're not in a different earth age because the earth wasn't destroyed during the flood. We're still in that second earth age. I think the third one will probably be the 1,000-year millennium in tribulation. You know, it doesn't really matter. God knows. All you can do is love your Father, treat everyone the way you want to be treated. But I'm going to bring this in again. What's important is this front right there. And when you look at the new model updates on this storm and on this storm, you can see that I don't think we're going to have a problem, guys, for the next few weeks with anything tropical at all. Look at that again. But the problem is, for our friends in the mountains, guys, and I worry about this every day, they're already predicting snowfall in the higher elevations. And to anybody in the Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia areas, Georgia, that are aware of the situation, are you aware of people that are still trapped and can't communicate, or don't have food, things like that? Because we're not getting many reports at all from the media. It's like for the first 3 or 4 days after the devastation, maybe a week, that it was top of the news. But now they're going back to the election and all of that noise that's tied to that. So let us know in the comments, guys, because there's always, if there's a will, there's a way. If you can let us know if you're in a certain situation, you need help, then we can contact the right people. Always willing to try. That's all I can say. But let me pull the zoom up on this particular satellite. Now, let's take a look at this. Again, we're in central Mississippi, guys. It's the most beautiful day you could ever have. Alabama and Georgia, it looks like you're enjoying it. Much of Louisiana, look at this. And this is what you're seeing. I think these clouds are kind of like lake effect snow blowing off the Great Lakes here. And that's why I'm saying this may turn into snow for our friends that are in danger and without enough shelter. But let us know the situation, guys. Mainstream media has really fumbled on this thing. But right here, this is going to change not only the Caribbean storm that may roll up across the Yucatan, but also the Atlantic storm as it pulls in from this direction. And it's already seeing the effects of this upper level pull of the wind shear. You can see it on the images before this, that the top of that system in the middle of the Atlantic was being pulled to the north. But all of this is going to force both the Atlantic hurricane and the Caribbean storm, or Atlantic storm and the Caribbean storm, south. This is very powerful. It's very cool. It's very nice weather. And it's quite a blessing, except for the colder weather for our friends that may not have proper shelter up after the storms. Both in Florida, too, guys. We're thinking about it. We covered all of it as it was coming in. And believe me, our hearts have gone out to you. And we are willing to do anything we can. Just let us know. And again, this system here, don't know how long that will hold up. If it could get away from the Great Lakes, it would lose the moisture feed for you guys up there that are trapped. In Florida, you don't have the temperatures quite as bad as you do in the upper elevations. It's something you can deal with more than likely. But again, the media is getting behind on what has happened in Florida. Some of the people that were on the ground investigating have drifted off into other areas because that's how the news cycle works, right? But we can't allow these victims or these folks, these people, to be victims of that news cycle and its constant pressure on everyone to keep up with it. And while we're talking about that news cycle, what we're seeing, guys, in the November voting system is that they're pushing, on the blue side, is pushing mass unrest if they lose. But they're going to blame it on the red side. Just kind of keep an eye on that. I think yesterday started early voting in Georgia. And right now in Georgia, there's lower courts that are battling for the blue side to count everything. It doesn't matter what it is. And then you've got higher courts in Georgia that say, no, we're going to make sure this is right. But we're going to end up seeing a repeat of 2020, but maybe with some people involved in this whole ordeal that are awake to what can happen if you don't pay attention. You've got to fight fire with fire. Democrats have been doing it a long time. The Republicans have just kind of sat back and expected to get their fair share of the votes here and there. It's no longer like that right now. If this election does not go through and the blue side gets it, it will be, as many have said, not me, generals, people all over the world, it will be the last election, and then you will be under serfdom. And that will include the roll-up-your-sleevers, food, where you live, what kind of work you do. And the main thing is freedom of speech. When that goes down, then the freedom to bear arms goes down. Everything goes down, and the way that they hate the Caucasian race is demonic, because I'm a Caucasian, and I hate no one, but I dislike a lot of politicians at this point. I must say that, and a lot of them have a hell of a deal that they're going to go through either in this lifetime or the next, because thou shalt not kill. How many people are in D.C. that have voted for war funding? Things like that, drafts. If you did that and you were in full knowledge of what was going on, you're guilty of premeditated murder. And you cannot be forgiven of that on earth. If you murder someone, premeditated murder, if you do that to someone, you cannot be forgiven on this earth. You can in heaven, But the way I understand it is that you'll be standing there before the judgment, in the judgment day, with the accuser. They will have a say. Do you understand what I'm saying? Anyway, so these people that are wanting people to be killed during an election, sabotaged, assassinated, sending everyone but their daughters and sons overseas to be murdered. The blood is on their hands. So the sooner that we go through the tribulation, and guys, don't think you're not going to go through it, because you just hope that you make it through it and that you don't have to see the wrath of God, because that's the second stage. Whether you realize that or you understand the timeline or not, that's also on you. You better study if you don't. There's not a magic time where you're going to float out like a butterfly. Okay, that's not going to happen. When you see Christ, when you change into your spiritual body, it's not what you think it's going to be. They're going to be the reaping of the tares, and the reaping then, after that, the wheat. Both will be reaped. Do you understand? And what does that reaping say? Or what does that mean? It means that thousands and billions of people will be wiped out when the greatest earthquake known to man happens. And with the wars, do you think that there's not Christians in Ukraine and in Russia and in Israel and in the Middle East? And they're being bombed into oblivion on both sides. I'm not picking sides here. I'm just saying the people that are under the bombardment all over that area, do you think that the tribulation is not real to them? And we're in a different section of the planet, but that will end when Babylon ends. And you better get it right. I didn't come here to preach. But what we have to do, again, there's no really good side of politics. We were told not to choose a king a long time ago. And then Saul came in there. But anyway, you got two choices. One is to continue a downhill course into oblivion, or something that may stabilize it long enough for God to do his will and separate the wheat from the tares individually, not as the pulling them up, but as far as recognizing, or maybe that's the wrong word, as far as educating his children onto what's going on, so they are not deceived. So there's just so much going on, guys. It's hard to put it into one paragraph, but you know things are changing. And now it's time to make a stand, not only physically, but spiritually. In your mind, wake up. Determine your side. What side are you on? Because it's coming down to a physical and a spiritual battle. You can't lollygag on this. You can't drag your feet. You better get real. And the best thing you can do is to prepare your family. This is not a sales thing. I'm talking about for whatever, okay? Where you're at. Are you in a city? Are you in like somewhere like New York where if the bridges are blown, you're trapped? And guys, I didn't mean to wander that far down that road, but maybe someone wanted to hear that or needed to. But here's the computer models, and notice everything was coming up into the Bahamas, but now look at the bend. Here, the CMC, NavGem, the Navy, and Avno, they're just kind of wanting to get out of the whole deal altogether. Look at this. And this was at, I guess this one is 15 minutes old right there. And so everything is turning down. That's because of what's coming down here, this cold front. And that's going to do the same thing to the system in the Caribbean. Everything is going to kind of be shut down. And really, it needs to be. If the waters are cooler, the air's cooler, we don't need a hurricane. We don't need to cool the planet to survive, because that is the air conditioners of this globe. So our Father realizes there's a lot of people in trouble in Florida and up through the Appalachian Mountains in the southeast. And there's been so much prayer. You don't think prayer works? Look at what's happening right now. Much better weather. I know it's cooler, but you don't need another storm in Florida or up into the Carolinas and Virginia, and I always say Tennessee, Kentucky, all Georgia, everybody that was affected. and Florida, of course. But guys, that's the turning right here, and it's a good time. We need a break in the activity of destruction. We need a time to rebuild both physically and spiritually right now at this point. But I want to make sure that you're saying, let me back up a minute. The two number one voters are the two number one groups of voters that do not vote. They are listed are Christians and gun owners. I think that makes up about 90 or 80% of the Southeast, guys. What is going on with you? What's going on with you? Okay? What is wrong with you? You say, well, a lot of Christians say, oh, that's the church. We don't want to get involved with politics. Well, they're about to tear the Christian church down across the world, and you don't want to get involved? And the hunters are saying, well, we don't want to get involved with that. It may bring in the National Rifle Association and Congress and the Supreme Court. Well, hell, they're about to take your guns, dudes. You have no excuse, and I'm sick of hearing that. Christians and gun owners are the number one no voters. What the hell is that about? I'd like to meet you in person. We're going to have a discussion about it because I'm very upset. If you don't realize the danger we're in now, you need to go to and live in some other nation because this nation is about to fall, and you're patriotic in your mind. But if you don't vote, you're betraying all your friends and family. So if you guys know any of the group that I'm talking about, many of you now on this channel probably are included in both categories. Probably hunt. You probably go to church. You believe in Jesus Christ. But right now there's a battle. And if you know friends in church that want to argue, well, we don't want to get involved in politics, slap them upside the head and say, what the hell are you thinking about? They're fixing to come and burn your church down, take you out, take your money, put you in a FEMA camp, and probably kill you. Didn't the Bible say you will be beheaded? And you're going to sit back and do nothing? It's disgusting. Right now, you have to fight. And I'm not talking about 90% of the people listening to this. You have to stand up and fight. You don't think I'm not risking this channel to put this message out? That's a big risk for me. Guys, I care about all of y'all. And I love all of y'all. Except a few politicians. I can't love demons. Sorry, God, you can strike me down, but I don't love them. I'm not going to pray for them because Christ, he didn't pray for them. He threw them out. He threw them out into the swine that you're not supposed to eat, and they ran off into the sea. But I'm going to quit preaching. Again, someone needed this, and everyone needs to get out in a couple weeks and get the job done. It's a heads up. Be safe.